What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be taking a look over here at the Bitcoin price chart, along with the altcoin market after we come off of last week's extreme volatility, where we witnessed the VIX, or the volatility S&P 500 index, hit levels we haven't seen since C19 or the great financial crisis. You pretty much had to be living under a rock to not see that happening last week. We watched Bitcoin, crypto, stocks, gold, silver, everything go for a big plunge last week and then recover through the rest of the week and into the weekend, just kind of hold itself up. But now that we're starting a new week, we have a lot of the weekly closes that happened for last week. One of those things we talked a lot about was just kind of looking at daily volume to see if we could see reversals. Obviously, a tremendous amount of volume at that low. You do look for tremendous amounts of volume to signify reversals. No huge buy volume showing up here on the daily time frame, but you can really see intraday on those 12-hour candles how the morning just kind of started with the mass liquidation. The stock market opened. Right when the stock market opened, the buyers all came flooding in to scoop up all the prices. And this is really the mark of the low for stocks, Bitcoin, gold, silver, altcoins, you name it, all takes place right back there on Monday. But what's interesting as well is we could see that the week ends up being green with some decent volume there over here on Coinbase and the same over here on Binance. On Tuesday, we were talking about altcoins and things that we'd really kind of be looking for. I brought up a couple of them that had created similar structures to what we have seen before, where you see a 79, 80% pullback happen mid-cycle. Then things recover. The market goes into expansion. One of those that did that back in 2020 was Solana. We've seen that in various assets throughout here. There's even more of them throughout the market that look like this. Really, the two that we just showed on the screen were SWI and Celestia. Look at what SWI has done. It is up almost 100% in less than a week, which is really the type of price action we've been looking for in here. So for some type of reversal to show up in Bitcoin, crypto, or stocks, this is one of those things we were looking for, kind of been like, it needs to kind of show up pretty quickly. And so far, there are some signs of that actually showing up. Now, as we've discussed over here on the Substack or on the newsletter that was published in the last couple of weeks, based on the previous cycles, we've entered that window where those signs really need to start showing up for the altcoin market. Bitcoin has approached that point where it's August. This is the expansionary time for Bitcoin, but we know that in these examples, the first signs actually came from the altcoin market, not Bitcoin. So as we head into this week, we'll be looking for more signs like this to show up in the market, not for it to be a single asset, one-off event. Another one that is starting to print like that would be Aptos. But as we head into this week, looking for even more of them to really show up. So that's really kind of the theme of this week, to see a continuation off of that volume that we saw last week to mark the low, to make that our capitulation bottom, and to see this start to spread out. Now, looking over at Total 3, or the altcoin market, we can see there was even high volume over here in the altcoin market. The last time that we had this level of volume was back when the market reversed, when the market was in extreme euphoria. Remember March? Absolute extreme euphoria, extreme risk taking, high volume marks a reversal. What do we have here? Extreme fear, high volume. Those are things you look for at reversals. So this week, looking for more confirmation to continue that momentum of reversal. As for XRP, it also saw extreme volume come off that low. Had kind of two things going for it, right? One, the whole market saw that extreme volume event. It also got marked down there at the lows for the whole market that there was buyers down there. Then at the same time, the remedies portion of the SEC versus Ripple case came to a conclusion at the same time. The price ripped up about 25% when that happened. I put that in the title of my video on Friday. I think a lot of people have been sold a bag of goods that the remedies portion of the case would somehow pump their XRP bags once Ripple's fine was determined. I've tried to break the news to you a million times. It is correlated to the rest of the market. If the rest of the market is moving, that is the best time for XRP to move. We can see where we are at right now. Even on the XRP price chart, we are entering that window of longest bear in history, not even to account for the one prior to that. But even in here, we're right on time of where things should get started to move in the market. Not just XRP, but the whole market. And we see that everywhere, not just on here. We see it here. And like we've talked about in these last couple of weeks, we've seen it a lot in the dominances that we've entered that window as well. The great news is to see that overhang get taken off as the market timing reaches this moment after we go through that capitulation that happened last week. Now we don't have to have that overhanging on us if the whole market decides to move. But as we've always seen with crypto, it always tends to move along with what's going on in the rest of the market, including macro markets. Looking at things like the NASDAQ and the Dow and the Russell 2000, we know these things are all very high. This NASDAQ has been up here above this 4.236 extension, but you could see that sell-off down there last week came down and just slammed into the 50-week moving average. Bullish candle right off of there. So there hasn't been technical damage to this chart yet. Doesn't mean it won't come, but it hasn't happened yet. But if you need more evidence to be like it's following the stock market, who else hit their 50-week moving average? Bitcoin. Who else was dancing with their 50-week moving average? The altcoin market. And somebody asked in Markets in the Morning, at what point would you say, man, it's totally a big, huge macro trend change for Bitcoin that has happened in here? You know, where would be that marker? And it's hard to say a specific number. If it just hits this one particular dollar, that automatically means it. But we can look through a lot of things. And it's kind of like when we found the bottom of Bitcoin back in 2022. We looked for a lot of different things to kind of show up in here that had showed up in past bottoms prior to that one, that once we finally saw these moving averages crossed, you would see all over Twitter and all over YouTube, oh, it's the death cross that has happened. It's now doomed. But the death cross actually ended up representing that the bottom was actually in or darn near it. Other things we had evidence of were things of like seeing stochastic RSI on the monthly time frame already starting to shoot its way up in here. Remember, even when this was all happening in here, people are still calling for 12K all throughout here, deep into 2023. But we were getting a lot of these flashes starting to show up in here that wasn't the case anymore, and that we had marked what has historically marked bottoms. So when you go through here, what has historically been no good? It's really been the break of that 50-week moving average in there. That has historically meant times are tough ahead of us. So holding that, you haven't flashed that marker yet, right? And you haven't broken Bitcoin's time cycles yet, right? So there's the argument that was capitulation that happened there on Monday, especially with some reactions that we're starting to see here throughout the market. And these reactions we're seeing here on these moving averages throughout macro markets at the same time. Now, if your entire portfolio consists of the Magnificent Seven and the big tech trade and the big consolidation trade, I'm going to bet there's some type of market dynamic force that is going to be shifting in this market, that is not going to be the trade any longer. We've looked at the NASDAQ 100 technology sector. This is the identical topping of what Bitcoin did back in 2021. This would be like May of 2021, April of 2021. This would be like your November of 2021. So I'm not convinced that we are going to see that same dynamic in markets continue to play out with your NVIDIA Apple trade. But the reality is the whole NVIDIA Apple trade hasn't necessarily, or Magnificent Seven trade hasn't exactly been great for crypto in general anyway. But as we head into this new week, the things I'll be watching for are to see continued strength happen on this rally that we've had since the lows and the capitulation and the historic extreme event, which has only happened 2 times in the last 20 years, 30 years. Bitcoin to continue holding those lows that it set there last Monday on that 50-week moving average. The challenge Bitcoin has right now is, of course, it's on the underside of its daily moving averages. So that's its big battle now. We've seen it go through that recently. But again, the big thing about market liquidity cycles is that we've entered into that period right now. Like I keep reiterating for August, you got everybody who perpetuates 4-year cycles and that the block reward halving is somehow the catalyst. It's not. If timing is going to be a thing, it is certainly August. Whether we are looking at Bitcoin dominances or altcoins, we're in that moment. So as this week continues on, we'll be looking for continued reactions like this to show up in the market. Because even for examples like SWI, it's not just price action that's doing it. It has the weekly volume to signify that low with that bullish engulfing candle at the same time. So we're seeing those reactions in the market this week. Continuation of it. This week, we want to see a continuation of it. And I think that's really the summary of what we have going on here. Bitcoin has really entered into that window for cycle theory. Altcoins are starting to show some initial reactions, which is what we suspect will be the first thing to go in a moment like this, is that the altcoins do give the early signal, as that's what they all did here. We have broader markets reacting on top of major moving averages, as did Bitcoin. and the altcoin market, and we've seen some high volume show up in here. So initial signs are good, but this week, let's confirm it with even more. And I would say this Monday is kicking off a whole lot better than last Monday did, and that certainly had a lot of capitulation feels to it. So I hope that you guys had a wonderful weekend. You guys left a tremendous amount of comments on my last video, telling me a lot of your own stories, giving a lot of sympathy. Man, I appreciate all of that. All is well in the universe over here now. So I hope that you guys are doing well too. And it meant a lot with all the things you guys had to say. So thank you very much. But I'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. We'll get this video out kind of quick. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Of course, you can check out the newsletter over here on blockchainbacker.substack.com. That really goes into details on all the discussions on cycle theory and why August is that month. You can, of course, check out bcbacker.com with over 40 videos and 11 hours of content teaching you how to set up your own charts and indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro, like you see me do over here on the YouTube channel. There are links down here in the description of this video to bcbacker.com and to the newsletter at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Otherwise, I hope you had a great weekend and we're off to a good start here to start this new week. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.